Hey, Athena, good
Hi,
morning, good
Andy.
afternoon to everybody.
Good
Um,
morning, good afternoon.
Lots of, seen a lot of familiar names and here already, so great to see everybody again. And this will be our third one this series this month. And we've got some new ones coming up in February. We'll talk about that here at the end as well. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask. And we are happy to answer as we're gonna do our best to just answer all questions here as we go. There might be some we have to kind of postpone till the end. All of the old webinars are going to be available right here. So someone just looks like Jason just asked that question, or no, Amir just asked that question. And so on the support website, there you can, if you click here on past webinars, you can be able to see the old ones there, and we'll start posting new ones there as well. Okay. And I know with Athena here, she just posted a poll. So you might see little questions there you want to start answering and things like that. It'll be very interesting to kind of get some of that feedback. We'd love to have it. Might help us here make sure we really customize things for you. Carol, perfect. Glad you can hear us. That's great. Welcome. And keep the questions and chat going on. We'd love that. Love seeing all the engagement.
Okay, and I can see more and more people joining. So I think we should start any minute now. Eric, hi, thank you. We're always glad to hear feedback, especially good feedback. Thank you for that.
You know, and Eric, I know I've seen your recommendations on Facebook to many other property managers. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Hello, Ray, Vancouver. Wow, sunny. That's great. That's good to hear.
So you all have Athena here, and myself, Andy, and Lara, and Carmen. I'll be helping out on chat here as well. So you'll see a few of us.
Yes. And well, we're going to present ourselves. My name is Athena. I am doing most of the web conferences with all of you, training sessions. I'm the training and onboarding specialist. And Andy here, he's the CEO and founder of zInspector. You probably know Andy. And we're very excited to have you all.
You know, and I'll just start off with here. I know kind of our templates, at first they feel pretty technical, and at some level they are, but you know, we made a kind of a choice to go a little bit more technical, but make it so that it was easier for us to basically add every option. And so what, you know, and so we've really been able, if you've got something that you need, it's actually becoming fairly easy for us to add it. And so that's the structure that we have. And now we're doing a lot of things to make it a lot easier as well. And so I'm sure some of you have noticed that we have this nice new preview tool that Athena will show you as well. And so you can kind of start seeing most of the template changes right there on the website as you're doing them. And so we're going to cover here some of that as well. Some of this at the beginning of this presentation will be a little bit of a refresher, just to make sure we're all in the same terminology, and then we're going to dive into it as well. So feel free to ask any questions, and love seeing people here. You know, we've got just a few people in the chat. We've got Canada, Mexico, all over. So love seeing you. Thanks for coming, and please keep the chat up and let us know what questions you have. I guarantee you, if you have it, there is somebody else that has it here as well. So welcome, Hussein and Ricardo and Macklin. And here's from Texas, welcome. Sorry that it's cold there, Carol. Well, Athena, why don't you kick us off here and get us started, and make sure you are answering here these pre-webinar questions. It's really going to help us keep things, make sure we understand where everyone's coming from. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So for those of you who are brand new with zInspector, just a few words on zInspector. We provide inspection software, property inspection software for property managers, real estate agents, inspectors, contractors. There are a lot of features to zInspector. We support tenant completed inspections, real native camera experience. You can take pictures, videos, 360 images when you perform your inspections. We support 2D layouts, 360 virtual tours. There are a lot of features. If you're brand new, I would recommend you just schedule a one-on-one web conference with us. We'll be happy to chat and answer any questions, go over all the features in more detail. To present ourselves, my name is Athena. I'm doing the training and onboarding here. We also have Andy with us. He's the CEO and founder of zInspector. And we should start just with understanding the basics here, just because a lot of people might not know exactly how everything works. It is a little different than any other inspection software out there. And Andy, would you like to go over that for the templates? We're going to cover basically what simple templates do and how people do it, but we're also going to show you how zInspector is different, because we don't have just simple templates like everybody else. We have database templates.
Yeah, so most people come to zInspector from other pieces of software, and at first they're like, I need to create a 2-bedroom template or a 3-bedroom template, and they think that's what they need to do. And it actually kind of creates a lot of confusion because it's different than everything else out there. And the problem with that is, if you just have a template, basically what you just get is a PDF report. And what we're looking to do is a lot more than that. So like, if you have the tenant do a move-in inspection and they take a picture of the master bedroom flooring, we're trying to put all that in a database so we can compare that photo right to your master bedroom flooring picture to move out, and generate that, compare it all side by side, and a lot more to it. So that's what, with simple templates, you may be coming from that, from basically all the other software out there. You need to make kind of a custom template per property, and you basically just get a PDF report. You might even have an HTML version of the report, but it's not editable data. It really is just a report that's there. And so what zInspector is based on is it is a full database. So every little piece of information is in this database that now syncs all offline. And so if you've got 1,000 properties, you could easily have 100 pieces of information per property syncing over to the app. So that would be 100,000 little pieces of information that's all going to be available on your app, all working, all offline. And that's what zInspector is based on, is that kind of core structure, that once we have that, we can do all kinds of stuff with it. We can sync devices, we can sync users, from your, that's why we're, a lot of people here mentioning 360 images. That's why we could support 360 images and videos and drawing on pictures and all these advanced things with it, because we're now just kind of handling one image at a time. And it generates then all kinds of other things, like these comparison reports that most of you know about. Of course, you're going to get PDF reports, but you can also then automatically generate work orders and kick that information out into other things here as well. Okay, so go ahead, Athena. The next slide here. And so right from the beginning, how is zInspector different? And it took us a while to actually kind of come up with this phrase, but it's really, really important. So maybe long-term users, you weren't presented this way, but your templates are based on your process, not the property. And it's a key distinction between us and everyone else. So you are going to have a process, a template whatever that may be. So most common here, most people here for move in, move out inspections, right? That's how most people are going to start. But now it could be for your annual inspection, a smoke detector inspection, or any other type of inspection you want. What is your custom process that you're going to do? Because if you really think about it, your process has nothing to do with your actual property. You've got to do a move in, you got to do a move out, you got to do an annual. And so why would we pick a different template based on that? So we're trying to just streamline it. So whenever your inspector is going to do things, it doesn't matter what property at, they're going to fill out the same process. Now, so then the key thing that within your template is what's unique about zInspector. If we have what's called a condition table. And so basically that is our term for grabbing everything from the property database. So you can now grab anything that's there, area, details, Z data, all that. You can just pull all that into a template. And so there's basically one line in your inspections that call out condition table. And with that field, it's going to grab everything for that. So what that does for you, and we're going to kind of show you more on this, is that you can have a 2-bedroom, a 3-bedroom, a 5-bedroom, whether you have 2 living rooms or 2 kitchens or whatever that may be, it doesn't matter. You just pick move in, you just pick move out, and that condition table will dynamically change for that property. Okay. Now, then on top of that, you can add custom fields. And so we do simple like the header at the top where we have like the date or things like that. But the ones where most people or a lot of people will have to customize your move-ins and move-outs right away, you might have to add in special language. So like we know some people they don't want to say anything, like they're not an inspector. We're not a licensed inspector. This is a visual check only, or whatever that may be. So it's really easy to add in your own special language. Or you might be in Virginia and you've got to add in something that says, hey, we didn't observe any mold, right? Or you may be in Canada and you need a drop down that says the tenant was either not present, or the tenant is present and agrees, or the tenant is present and does not agree, right? So things like that, that's where you're going to be, you can add these custom fields. But if you really think about it, those things are not associated with the property, right? Whether there's, you're having a tenant sign off on a mold disclosure, that has nothing to do with your actual property inspection that we're comparing over time. It's going to be on the report, but it's not part of the property database. Okay. And so that's that little subtlety that we're going to try and kind of work on here and show you how it works here in the templates. Okay. So go ahead, Athena.
Okay, let's go to our next slide. We have here some specific database terminology that we use in zInspector. It's pretty straightforward, but you already know areas. This is what the areas you have for each of your properties. This is what you're going to inspect, all the areas, the rooms, spaces that you're going to be inspecting. Under each area, you also have the area details. And these are the items under the area that you're going to be, again, inspecting, very detailed, like, for example, door, knob, lock, and this can be pretty much anything you want. You can just customize that list. Conditions, it is what it is. These are the conditions to document what the items are like, what their condition is. You can have new, satisfactory, damaged. You can fully customize the condition options. You can make it be anything. If you tap and hold on the condition option, you have more options. Like by default, it's under S. If you tap and hold on it, you can see F for fair, P for poor. Under N, if you tap and hold on new, you can see E, excellent. But again, you can customize these conditions too. And we're actually going to cover in the next slides how you can change these conditions. Now for comments, again, that is for that detail to describe basically the condition of the item. But with zData, that's a different field, and it's different functionality. Basically, we had a webinar 2 weeks ago about that feature specifically, so you can watch that on our support website. But zData allows you to store property-specific attributes like appliance serial numbers, model numbers, HVAC filter sizes, flooring types, paint colors, any information like that that is more permanent. It's a property attribute. You will capture that under zData. You will document it in zData, and it's going to be available in every future inspection when you go back to the property. And you can see a little screenshot here of how it looks on the app.
And just, so where those kind of terms came from, the N, S, and D, those are the ones that basically came from the kind of classic Association of Realtors memo, right? Move in, move out form. That's where that terminology came from. And that's where, kind of where it started. And then it evolved from there. And so, and I think, so that's the idea, is that, the N for new, you would typically use that, like if you just put in, new paint, right? Or new flooring or something like that at a move-in. That's a great time to identify that you just put in something brand new, where most of the time it's going to be satisfactory. Now, one of the, then damage here will be really if it's something that's likely considered a tenant charge. Whether you're going to charge them for that may be something different, right? But that's the idea behind it. If it's something that would likely be considered a tenant charge. So you could have a hole in carpet and it's damaged. It's not necessarily a charge, right? Maybe it was there at a, pre-existing inspection or something like that as well. And then the little subtlety is exclamation point there. That means you have an action. That's you're going to do something. And so there's a difference between condition and action. So you could have flooring that's brand new, but an action for flooring required because the vendor didn't install the trim right? So that's the idea, is that, there's really a difference between those. Now, that said, at a move out, most times it's going to be both damaged and an action. It's tenant damaged it and you're going to do something about it, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any combination of those. Okay. And then, as Athena mentioned, and Eric, you brought up one about, in one of the questions about F for fair. And that's something that we added with the Z3 app a couple of years ago, that if you hold that S3 or where it says the S there, that can give you different options, and you can make those be what you want. But the default setup taps that and you hold that. And the idea is, let's say the cabinets are really old, for example, and you really don't want to say, that this owner's not going to replace them. They're still functional, but you really don't want to say they're satisfactory. Maybe it's not clearly your standards or whatever that may be. That would be a great opportunity for where you could hold that S and you could make it be F for fair. Okay. Another option that we have there under N for new, like maybe you installed something like mid-lease just a little while ago or near the end of the lease. So you can't really say it's new, but you're highlight it. So you can hold that and say E for excellent. Then you can make those codes be what you want. Another one that certain people like to do is under D, and you can actually make all those 2-digit codes. You could make that be TD for tenant damage or OR for owner responsibility. Some property managers like to make that distinction right there on the report, and it's very easy to do that if you want to do that as well. So you should know that that's an option. And then we can kind of cover that there as well. So all those could be 2-digit codes or single-digit codes. Okay. Why don't you just keep going here, Athena? I know there's been questions coming in. We'll come back here in a little bit to kind of start covering those.
Yes. Okay, perfect. So how would you create a property? We're starting with the basics, but there are things that everybody needs to understand, that you can create a property either on the website or on the app. both ways. You can sync all your properties from your accounting software. We have integrations with Rent Manager, Rent Direct, Appfolio, Propertyware, and Rentvine. And when you sync your properties, you will also sync all the number for all your properties, the number of bedrooms and bathrooms. So that information will already be there for each one of your properties. If you don't do the sync, you can also create properties manually on the zInspector website. If you go to properties admin page, there's a green button. You can see that on the screenshot, but you can just tap on that, click on that, and you can just create your properties. If you do it from the app, first of all the properties from the website will either way sync to the app. You just tap on property unit and you select your property from the list. You can filter the list for your specific property, select and inspect. If you don't see your property, if you haven't done the sync, or for whatever reason, if you want, you can add a new property right there and then on the app when you're in the field performing an inspection. You can add a property. You can see on the screenshot here at the very bottom on the smartphone screenshot, there's a plus new button. You can just click on that and you can add a new property. Now you can also edit areas. Go ahead.
Sure. And just to kind of, and so why Athena is covering this first is because the first thing you're going to do is you need to have the property in the system in order to inspect it. And we'll see sometimes a new user like not really understanding that because from everywhere else, they might have had to go create a template first to go do that. But what we're doing here is different. You've got to have that property here in the system. And then, and importantly, right, you don't recreate the property for a move in or move out, right? The idea is once that property is in your system, you're just going to pick that same property and you can inspect it here as many times as you need to for as many different inspections as you want. Okay. And so, and that's kind of the key thing here. And then I know Athena would cover it, but if you look there on the bottom left-hand side, it says edit areas down there. And so that's where you've got the properties, and within each property, you have the area list. And so that's bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, living room, so forth. And you can change the area list for the property either on the website or on the app, either way, and it's going to sync together. Okay.
Exactly. And it's important to understand that you change the areas for the property. You don't need to change the templates because we get asked that a lot. How do I change the template to show 4 bedrooms? You don't change the template. You're just editing the areas for that property. And as we said, you can even do it when you're in the field. If you open the move-in template, you can just do it there and then edit your areas.
Athena, why don't we go ahead and just cover, if you go back up there a slide for a second, let's go ahead and just cover a few questions, just so it's not getting lost, okay? And so Kathy asked, can the condition codes be different in different templates? Yes, that's very easy to do. Each template has its own condition code line. And so like the simplest example on our default one, based on feedback, we don't provide the new option if the tenant does it, right? That would be an example of that. With the another one we see some people do is on an annual inspection, they might not say S for satisfactory, they just want to say okay, literally okay, right? That is, example of how to do that, okay? All right. Then someone asked, can you customize a logo? Absolutely. We'll show you where to customize the logo. And let's see, we've got some other questions. The Rico Theta cameras, we're going to have so Jason asked about a new Rico Theta camera. Anything that's supported on their API will support. I don't know specifically on that one yet, but most likely. That said, next month, we are going to have another webinar on 360s. We've got some really good features. We've got the Insta360 cameras. We've been asked that a lot. We're finally supporting them, as well as both the Rico and Insta360. We are coming out with a new option to an HD option, which takes basically multiple images and then combines all those with a bunch of filtering to get a better, higher quality image. and as well as some number of other filtering tools and other things. So there's going to be another web conference, a webinar next month on that. And for people in our beta program, there are those 360 cameras are starting to be available already. Okay. Eric, and default conditions, yes, you can in SD, you can make those be whatever you want. You change that on the template, okay? And so we will cover that as well, and can actually show you that. And you can, again, make that be whatever you want. Hussein asked about zData, and we had a full webinar on zData. I'd encourage you to watch that one. But the idea is that is where you store things that are semi-permanent, okay? And so the idea is something like a serial number or flooring type or model number or anything like that that you want to store associated with that attribute of the property. That's what zData is. And when you store that there, you'll just store it one time, even without internet. It'll sync to the website and be available automatically later for future inspections. So basically you enter in the serial number just once and it's automatically there. But of course you can change it, barcode scan, and so forth. So the full webinar last week on that, encourage you to watch that as well. Gerardo asked, how do I separate the tenant owner responsibility? So we'll show you how to do that, how do you customize the condition table. So if you like to do it, that's how. My personal preference is not to do it. I personally like just having damaged and then would kick it out to Excel, and then we kind of controlled it there, whether it was owner or tenant responsibility. So that I preferred it when I was a broker and managed it to be more gray, I would say. But many property managers wanted that, more explicit, either, TD, tenant damage, or OR, owner responsibility. We will show you that here later. It's very easy. Okay. And Ashley also asked, can you show us how to change the reports for new satisfactory setup? Absolutely, we will get right to that, and we will show you that here as well. That's all just part of how do you edit the condition table line. So we will get to that. And okay, and I think we've covered that. So all the questions here.
Okay, great. Now we want to also cover how you would adjust the default areas and the default details. This is a little different. You don't do it per property necessarily. You can do it per property, but before you start adding properties, that's important. Before you start adding, or before you do the property sync, you should definitely go under settings, admin settings, area details, to go over your default list of areas. You have two options, two columns here. You can enable or disable areas to be added by default to your single family properties. This is that column separately. And you can also have default areas added for your multifamily units. So it's different. You can have a different list of areas for your multifamily units, a different list for your single family. And that's where you would do that under settings, admin settings, area details. You can enable, disable the toggles here. Under inactive areas, you have some more options. You can check that out. There are a lot of different area options there. But once you have your areas, for each area, you can also tap on the little pencil icon, like you can see here on the kitchen, the little pencil icon on the left. You can click that and you can go over your detail list under that area, under the kitchen area. Somebody asked if you can add details like pantry for your kitchens. That's where you would do that. Settings, admin settings, area details, search for kitchen here in the area column. You can easily search kitchen and then click on the pencil icon and hide anything that you don't want, hide the details you don't need, and create or add new details as necessary. And this is, sorry, yeah, but I wanted to mention that this is going to be applied for your new properties that you add from now on, the areas. But if you add a detail right now, it's going to update your existing properties too.
Now, some of the questions that are coming in on this. So like on pantry, you might want that as a separate area, depending on the types of properties that you manage. Pantry is actually an option under inactive. So under pantry, that's where you, under inactive, you could go there and edit it and add in things like flooring, cabinets, or whatever you want. And there it's going to, and then make that a pantry as a specific area choice if you wanted to do that. Okay. Now, one, we probably should have this on by default, but for your single family, it's best, especially if you're a new customer, to go and add the systems area. It's kind of how I kind of like to do it. We didn't do it because it wasn't on the default, like Association of Realtors list. It was kind of something we added later, but I like having that systems area on for at least your single family home by default, and adding in things there like water heater and so forth. Okay, so that's kind of the little tip. Now, Eric asked here about the numbers associated with area sort and what that means. And so that is basically how you control your default ordering. And so the default setup, your front yard and entry is going to be at the top of the list. So that's a 1. Now this is one of the tables that's going to get updated to being some drag and drop things, but that's what that ordering actually does, is it controls your default ordering in the list. And that is kind of what here also, that to come back to, on those columns there on the right versus default for single family, multifamily, you can think of that as changing or setting up your default template. That's like kind of the classic way to think of it. So by whatever's set there by default, that's going to set the default area list for the property at the time of property creation. But then any property can be modified however you want. So with the default setup, then things that are at a 1 will be at the top. And this gets back to kind of Eric's question. So your front yard will be at the top. Then it's going to do like your kitchen and living room. And then it'll put in your bedrooms and bathrooms. And so you can control that area sort. Different people do things differently. So we have seen some people always want kitchens at the top of the list and always want bathrooms second. And they like that because that's where a lot of the problems would be. If you were one of those people that like to do it that way, you would go in here, put kitchen a 1, you would put bathroom a 2, and you would put everything else at least a 3 or higher. And so if it's a 3 and a bunch of items are a 3, it'll be alphabetical within that list. So I know that was kind of a long explanation. Hopefully that makes sense. It's actually pretty easy to do, but that's the idea, is that area sort basically controls the ordering. And if you just made them all 1 number, so if you made everything 3, then they will all be just alphabetical. But if you wanted to override that alphabetical, then that's where it'll be there. Okay. All right. So let's see, lots kind of different questions here. Yeah. So Eric asked if you wanted all the inspected exterior last, you could put in them all 99. Yeah, you could, but you probably would want to do like front yard 97, side yard 98, backyard 99, or something like that. But that is how you could do it. And otherwise it would just be alphabetical in there, and then backyard would be first, right? So if that makes sense. Okay. Can you do advanced setup on the phone app or just the desktop? So this page, Lindsay asked that, the area details page is pretty mobile friendly. And on the mobile app, if you click settings in the upper right-hand corner, it'll see area details and it will take you to this page. You're technically on the website, but you can configure it pretty easily from the mobile app. But if you're just getting started, I'd recommend you do this on a computer, and then kind of see it how it works on the app. But then as you're good, you can easily modify this, from the mobile app or from a mobile browser. Okay. Hussein asked, do you have a webinar on how to customize an area like loft, nook, things like that? So basically those are there. We're kind of covering that, I think, enough here, but and we'll go into it. But if you just click where it says inactive, you can see other areas there, and you'll just click the pencil and add that. And we'll actually show that. And actually, I might as well just do that if you don't mind, Athena. I can just kind of click over and just show that real fast.
Of course.
Yeah, okay. And so because we're on this page, we might as well just kind of cover it. Okay. And so because it is kind of one of the things that makes zInspector different. And so we definitely want to make sure everyone understands this. And so this would be an example of the active areas table. And then there are many things in here. One, I would check for, like if you're in California, I think smoke detector is not on our default list. I would hit edit and add in smoke detector. And so you would just go down here and add in smoke detector, and you can add it. Okay. So that's basically how to add it. You just type it in. And so if I wanted like window lock as a separate line item, then I would just go ahead and add it. If I don't want it in that list, then it's going to drop out. And it's as simple as that to kind of modify the area list for the property. It actually brings up a little subtle question, why I really don't want to set bedrooms and bathrooms as defaults. And we probably should make that more apparent in the software. And the reason is because bedrooms and bathrooms, we're typically going to get that when you're creating the property. We have a separate little feature that says how many bedrooms and bathrooms does the property have. So you could add that here, but you really don't typically do that. It's going to be filled in somewhere later to add in that information. Okay. All right. Now on to the specific question someone asked about a pantry. That would be here under inactive areas. That pantry option is here. If you're doing commercial or things like that, you're going to need some of these areas here as well, but I'm going to search on pantry and then hit edit. Okay. And then I'm going to add in things like, okay, walls, cabinets, okay, whatever that may be in your, whatever you want in your list. And that's going to be there. And once I have it, I can make it active. And now that's going to be available on your mobile app and website. You're going to have your pantry as an option. So that's basically how you're going to modify that. Now, we get asked, can I change area names? Not at this time. Okay, so we may be doing something a little different in the future, but that's how it works at the moment. And there are reasons for that. We have over 100 million pictures that we are trying to make it all very rapidly access, search, compare, find, filter, sort, sync offline. And so by controlling this list a little bit, it makes the whole process faster. So that's why we've done it that way. But the details within the area, you can make be whatever you want. Okay, so that's how that's set up. All right. Lindsay asks, the exterior walk templates were different than unit walks. And so that's something a little bit different, but it depends on if you're synced with other software or if you're going to do it manually. But if you have, let's say, an apartment building and you've got 20 units, then you typically want to have a quote unquote unit just for inspecting the exterior and common area. And so the idea is you can do building inspections, you could do a fire extinguisher inspect, whatever that may be, and you've got a place to store those inspections, even though they're not typically, it's not really a move in, move out, it's not associated with a unit, but you can still do those inspections. And though that exterior unit can have its own area lists. Some people just have one really simple one like common, and they just have a few things in there. Some people get very elaborate and put, a lot of different areas in that kind of thing. So it really kind of depends on your properties. Okay. Well, thank you, Asin. I appreciate you being here. Okay, so Joseph asked, can we undo any of these template? It says move in. I think you said move in changes. And so, yes, and we're going to cover that in a second. How we have a really powerful version control system on the templates, and we're going to come to that in just a second. Okay, and let's see, any other question? Okay. So Lori, there's rarely a limit on how many number custom details that you can add. If you start adding a lot, we just want you to contact support, and then we can up your count. Because if you're really adding a lot, there's probably something wrong, and we want to know what's going on, how you're using the software. But we've never not increased someone's count. So just contact support, and we will do a quick check of your account and see if we give you any tips to implement it and kind of go from there. Okay. All right. All right. Why don't you kind of keep going from here, Athena?
Okay, let me switch back to the presentation we have here. And we can go to the next slide here. Now we're getting into customizing the templates. Now this is the exciting part. Okay, so if you go to settings, document templates, this is the screen you're going to see here. What you need to pay attention to, well, you understand already that the active templates that you're seeing here on the active templates tab, these are the templates that are showing up on the app, and they're showing up as available for you to use to do inspections. Now, we do have some additional tabs here, like the inactive templates. These are pretty much templates that you don't use. These can be older versions of templates that you have customized. So whenever you customize a template and you save your edits, your customizations, you don't lose the template that you had. It's just going under the inactive templates tab as a different version of the same template. And you can also hide templates you don't need on the active templates tab. If you're not using some of these templates, like if you're not doing pet inspections or some other templates, maybe, you can just tap or click on the little red bin icon to hide the template. You're not going to delete it. It's just going to go to the inactive templates tab. We also have a drafts tab here. That's not very important for you to really pay attention, but just to cover that, under drafts, if you don't publish your changes and you just save your template, that's just going to go to the drafts tab. So you can bring it back from the drafts tab and resume your customizations and then just publish it. Now, a newer one that we added recently, the samples tab. This is a good one to go over. Under samples, you have more template options that they're not active by default. They're not available on the app, but you do have some options there, like 2D layouts. That's an option under samples. New property setup. I think we have added that. If we didn't, we're going to release that in a few days. Other inspections like home watch, rent ready checklist. You can just check the samples tab and you can see more options there. It's very easy to publish these samples. Just click on the new draft icon for any of those. And this is the new draft icon, by the way. On the left here, you can see these little 3 icons. So the middle one is the new draft icon. You can just click on that to publish a template or to just edit your templates. Now on the samples tab, if you just click on that to edit a template, you can just click on it and publish any templates that are right now under samples. The moment you publish them, they're going to go to the active tab. Somebody also asked, how do you customize or add your logo? So you're going to go to settings, document templates, and you're just going to click on this customize tab here that we have. And this is where you can add your logo, and you can also customize your header, your information, your company information. And it's going to update all your templates automatically. It's going to update all your reports automatically. You don't need to do anything other than just upload the logo and add that information here. Now for the other two, for the icons here on the right, on the left that I have, we have the preview, the little magnifying glass. That is just going to show you a preview of the PDF report that you will receive the moment you submit a template. The moment you submit an inspection, it's going to show you a preview of the PDF report. And new draft icon to edit a template or to just publish a template, and the red bin icon to make inactive. Now, we also released a preview here, like we have about 3 or 4 months that we released this, and this is showing you the template that you have selected. It's showing you a preview of that template. And you can also see the preview the moment you open the template. You can see the preview right here. Any changes you make, they're going to show up live on the preview.
Athena, how about I pull up my account here and just kind of demo some of those core things here as well, okay? And so there is my screen, and hopefully you can all see that.
Yes.
Perfect. And so basically you're going to go to settings, okay, document templates. Here is kind of all your kind of active templates. I've got a bunch of junk, right, on my account, right? So I've got all kinds of different things that I'm kind of trying here. And so if I do not want a certain template, or there's something there's not applicable on your list, just hit that there. And if you say I have a hover over it, it's going to say that. So I'm going to say make inactive, and that's done. That will no longer be available on your app. Okay, so that's how it's done. But all of your old templates, so if under inactive, every old version is all here. So I can see any old template there. I can search for them. I can see all the old versions numbers. And then basically I would just hit the new draft right here. I could hit new draft and open that back up. And so if here, now one thing that I'm gonna kind of diving a little deeper here, and we probably should come up with a better way to do it, but if you see, like if I see this system document field, that is telling zInspector that you have never changed the template. Okay, so if we ever wanted to do an update or something like that, we can just update it at our discretion. Okay, so it's just all up to us. If we want to do just a random update, we can do it. If you want to get rid of that, you basically just single click on that field and hit delete. Okay, and now when I hit publish, that now I can publish that template there. And I don't know if you recall, but that was version 19, and now it's version 20. Version 19 is inactive. And that's basically how you're going to kind of, modify the templates. Now here are, here we just had one yesterday from someone. They liked the annual inspection template we provided, but they wanted to call it renewal. So the example, you would open, say, new draft. You would open this up, okay? You would change the title to be whatever you wanted, okay? So I'm just going to say renewal. I'm going to get rid of the system document field, and now publish. And now I've got a new template on my account. And it's as simple as that to kind of modify it from there. Now, one of the features that we added here recently is that this preview tool. So you can see what that template looks like, and you can even see the area list for this property. But maybe you're an admin and you're just trying to check things out and you're like, oh, I know this property is wrong. I can actually click edit areas right here and change the area list for this property. So because it's all in a database, this previewer right here, you can actually pick a different property. And so we'll go to Salad Avenue, okay? And that's the area list for Salad Avenue, and I can hit edit, and I can modify that right here. And if I do that here on the app or the website, it's going to now all sync together. Okay. And so that's how that works. Okay. Now, in terms of modifying the templates, we'd encourage you to not really do too much right away. Get familiar with the basics. But an example would be, let's say under a move out, I click new draft. Okay. And then we're going to cover this here as well. And actually, I'm going to step back for a second and we're going to cover that as well. Some of how this things, I forgot you've got some other slides on this. Let's see what other questions we have. Eric, you're tech geeking out. We love it. That's the idea. Okay. Chris asked about tenant-led inspections. Okay. So that's a great one. And it's a little subtle one. Okay. Now, we did this by kind of default. If you type in tenant, you're going to see a bunch of tenant inspections here. Now, we added tenant in our samples and our active to make it easier to find. But the word tenant doesn't actually do anything, okay, for you. Is that it's just easier to have it in the name. But if you click right there under new draft, okay, this is what we call here, right there, the tenant, the activity. See the inspection activity. So when you're going to go set up the tenants to do an invite, under tenant inspection, you'll have multiple choices. You'll only see templates that have this field in them. So you're not seeing all templates because not all templates have that field, only these that have tenant inspections. Okay. Now, similarly, the tenant move-in template is actually going to be written like that. That's or let me just want to double check so I have the language exactly right. So I'll go back here and I'm going to look at the tenant move-in. Okay, and I'm going to click this one, and that's the one here you're going to see that shows up right there under tenant move-in. So on tenant move-ins, you're just going to have really one template, right? That's your move-in process. But for tenant inspection, you can have many, many different templates, really as many different ones as you want. And so that's when you're going to look at all these. So like tenant filter sizing, that's why that one also here has the tenant inspection line here. Okay. Now it's a little kind of trick. Let's say you wanted to try out a template on your own. What you would do is, okay, I'm going to get rid of the system documents field. I'm going to get rid of this from tenant and just make that be inspection. That's now going to be a template for you, your zInspector users, right? So that's now your template. That's going to real time now sync. I hit publish. It's going to be on your app. If you click it here, and this is now tenant inspection, that will not be there for your inspectors, but it will be there when you send the invite to tenants. Okay. Now, if you're a new user, I know that might all seem a little weird, but at least all the default templates are there for you automatically. So it becomes easier to use those and more modifying them. Okay. So Chris, hopefully that answered that question for you. Okay. And we got some, let's see here, more in the Q&A.
Yes, so Shelley asked, how do you close the inspection and start a new one? You have, the example here is that you have some short-term rentals and you do weekly inspections. So basically you need to go through the template, do the inspection. You need to tap on proceed specifically, and we're going to show it right away. But you need to sign the inspection if you have a signature field there. But you need to specifically tap on submit at the very end, and you need to actually submit it. You can see it then uploaded to the zInspector website. And after that, you can just right away start a new inspection. And
then I'm going to just add there, if you had some old ones that you did not finish, okay, then on the app, it's going to say inspect one. The idea is you want to finish the inspection, right? So we're not going to just keep starting them over and over and over again. So we want to get in there and finish it. If it's just no longer applicable anymore, when I hit inspect, if you see where it says move in there, then you hit the little green clipboard there to resume it. Or if it's just not applicable, it's old or something like that, I can hit the trash can and to delete it. Okay, so that's how that works. So you can either delete that one or resume it. For the short-term vacation rentals, we probably should add some templates that are more customized for those out of the box. But like on that move-in, you might want to do things that are a little different. Like maybe you make it optional, like you don't have to fill out everything. Maybe it's more focused on certain questions. So you might want to make it a little bit faster where their main move-in is for long-term rentals and it forces you to kind of go through everything. It's easy to change that. So contact support if you want some tips on what we can do. Okay. So Brian asked, can we create templates that don't kind of open inspection, but rather form letters to be bulk emailed to tenants? So that is on our plan, right? We don't, right now, everything would show up as an inspection on the app and it would be available. And that's how that will work. We are looking to do other things with them. So like, basically using it for more of a document signing service. So it's on the list. One big important step with it was the preview tool. And so we're going to keep evolving on that. But right now it's all done. It syncs to the app and you fill them out on the app. Okay. Lori asks if we remove system document from our template. So if you removed system document field, we're just not going to update your templates. So you can find kind of similar ones on samples and things like that and restore them from there, most likely. Or if there's something that you think you're missing or want it back, just let us know and we will help you with that. Okay. Hussein asked, what does the ruler mean? So that is a newer feature that we're probably going to cover more in depth in another webinar. But on each area, you can add in dimensions now. So you can add in that this room is 10 by 12 or make it an L shape or things like that. And if you have an iPhone 11 or 12 or so, you can actually use it to scan and actually physically measure the length. And so it's just a place for you to store the dimensions of a room as well. Okay. So Eric, is it possible to see the tenant inspections in your list? I think I don't quite understand that question. So maybe kind of elaborate that one, exactly what you're asking for. But the tenant page is, go ahead. You get it, Athena?
Yeah, no, I think Eric's asking if he's an admin, can he see the tenant inspections right there on the zInspector app? That's what I understood. As options, I mean, when you tap inspect.
Got it. No, got it. Thank you, Athena. No, you would have to go in there and make a change that tenant activity line, publish it, and then you would see it. And when you're done, you change it back and it'll show up as tenants. So we wanted to make it like really clear. It's in two different spots. Could we made it show up on both? I think we could have, but we just thought it'd be more from a process management point of view. We thought it'd be better to just have it one or the other. Okay. Nicholas, glad you're liking this webinar so far, and we're going to do them at least one a month, kind of going forward. So Lawrence, sending the tenant inspection invites, I really recommend you do that from the website. We just don't do it from the mobile app. While we maybe do it, and I know that other people are doing it, the reality is what they're doing is very, very simple, where you're like manually adding in an email address and sending it and things like that. Where on our tenant page, it is a full dashboard to manage it and send them reminders and re-invites and reset their passwords and lots and lots of stuff. Customize, like a tenant calls you up and says, hey, I'm not moving in for 3 weeks, I can't fill it. You can change the invitation dates. And so it's a massive dashboard to manage a lot of information. So we've designed that tenant invitation page to really be from a larger browser. It'll work great on an iPad as well. But in the field, on your cell phone or things like that, it's geared more for you doing the inspections, is how it works. Okay. Eric, so you asked about, can you add a feature to take the dimensions and create a floor plan? That feature is actually there. It's still kind of, I think, evolving. It depends on what plan you have. I think we're still working to improve it, but you can pick sample plans, sample layouts. You can use it on Android or iPhone. The only part of it that specifically works just on an iPhone is the actual dimensions. On an Android, you'd have to enter in the room was 10 by 12 or whatever that may be. And if you wanted to try it out, under the samples, there is a 2D, sorry, under samples, click the wrong one there, samples. You can enable that on there and give it a shot and then let us know how it's working for you. We'd love to work with you on that. Okay. Michael asks, what's the difference between invite tenants to perform a move-in inspection and remote signature? So just kind of covering the tenants page. So if you are inviting tenants to do an inspection, you've got kind of different options here. But this here is if they're doing their own inspection on their own app. So that's equivalent to sending them giving them a paper checklist, essentially. And then when you do the move out, it all compared next to each other side by side. So that's what that feature is for. The remote signature feature is if you're doing the move-in inspection and you want to have them remotely sign yours. And there's different options on the remote signature. You can let them add pictures, you can let them add comments or things like that. So that's 2 different kind of features depending on how you want to use it. Okay. Lawrence, tenant lost passport and can't find the original invite email. So if you just click right where it says invited, right there on the tenant page, you can say right there, send a reminder, and they'll get it right then, and they'll get a fresh email right then, Lawrence. So that's how that works. Okay. And okay, so Ted asks, can you turn off the email send of task detail upon completion of an inspection? So yes, and I would encourage you to keep it on and understand what it does and why. There are some really important things about it, even though it's kind of a more advanced feature. And if you want to contact support at zInspector, you can kind of get some tips on that, and we'll kind of do a scan of your account and give you some recommendations. But if you go under settings, admin settings, task settings here, there's a bunch of things there, and you could, if you uncheck that there, or that they won't be created at all, or if you uncheck them there, you won't get the notification. So that's where you would do that. Okay. All right, let's see.
We have some more questions in the chat here.
Oh, okay. Joseph, thank you. Happy New Year's to you. Really appreciate that. And yeah, all the old ones are on the support site under past webinar. Okay, so that's how that works. Okay. Um, so, okay, so Carol, it says you want the exclamation point, but you do not want to be forced to take a picture. We're going to get to that. We're going to cover that exact question. Okay. Eric, how do you do a tenant inspection from scratch? We will cover that one as well. Okay. And just leave those open here. Laurie, if you move more than one person, tenant is moving into the property and want them to perform their move in. At this point, if you're having them do their own move-in inspection, we recommend that you just send it to one tenant. Once you have a complete inspection, you can actually send it back to multiple people for remote signature if you wanted it. So I think most PMs, what they're doing is they're just sending it to just one tenant and leaving it like as it is. Maybe you're in a locale that you really need all signatures on it or something like that. Or maybe you have a roommate that moves in late or something like that, and you want them to sign it. That's a perfect place to use remote signature. So on the remote signature feature, you can choose either a move-in inspection you did, or you could choose a tenant move-in inspection that the tenant did. We do not have a feature at this time that would do something like have one tenant perform the inspection and then let the other tenants kind of remotely sign afterwards. It's on our desired features list to do that, but we don't do that quite yet. Okay. Right now with Android, you'll have to just manually enter in the dimensions. So Joseph asked about that. So if you're using it for floor plans or something like that, you probably need to do something else to actually measure the dimensions. We have tried making it work with Android phones. It just isn't accurate enough for us to do it, where we found with, especially with like an iPhone 12, it's very, very accurate. And so that's why we've done it that way. If we could just make it work on Android, we would. While it's on our list, of the honest truth, it probably won't be happening in the near future. Apple has done various things to make it easier for us to actually kind of capture those dimensions. Okay. And Gwen also asked about the requirement for how to turn off the picture requirement. We are going to cover that here as well. Okay. All right. So Ray asked, how does the iPhone do it? Okay, so I guess since there's been a few questions on it, it's not really our topic, but since it's just kind of a fun one, you can get there in a couple different ways. But if I'm in the ruler screen, you can see if I'm on an iPhone, I can just move it around and I can capture it and actually just capture dimensions right that. And I can it'll actually put the dimension, right in there, and I can do different things like that as well. And actually can do floor plans as well. And that feature is in various spots. Okay. And so you can do that. So it's just going to use your phone right there to do it. And you can even like take pictures and stuff like that with those kind of imaginary lines right in there. And you can do things even in picture mode. And when you're in picture mode, you can do the measure tool. So on any picture screen, you could use that for like, maybe you were in the kitchen and you were taking a picture, let's say, of the counter, and you wanted to get the depth of it, right? You could do something like that, and you can do that and capture it like that. So it's a really cool feature. unfortunately, it's one that we can only, it's the only feature that only works just on iPhones. Everything well else works on both Android and iPhone. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Which iPad version do the measurement? I'm not sure on the iPad. Certainly the newer ones do, and I believe that the new iPad mini does it as well. I'm pretty sure on that one, and I really like the new iPad mini. If you're trying that one, I think that's a great device for inspections. Even though I like Android as well, I think that that's a really nice one if you want to buy a dedicated device. Okay, let's keep going with the slides because we're going to get on to templates. Keep going, Athena.
Okay, perfect. Let me switch to the presentation. And we can go to the next slide here. Well, we already showed you how you would delete the system document. We went over that. Now, if you change let's say you're in the template, you want to customize a template. The moment you change the title of the template, even just slightly, it's going to create a new template, a new different template. So you're going to have both the previous one with the previous title and the new one with a new title. Now, this is a good example. I think Andy mentioned it previously, but if you want to do periodic inspections or I don't know, biannual, whatever it is, if you just want to do specific inspections like that, you can open, for example, the inspection template that you already have as a default. You can change the title, change some wording here, delete the system document, and publish. It's very easy to just build or create a new template of an existing one. Now you can go ahead.
I was just going to say here, so what you're seeing here, even though it looks a little technical, is if you can just kind of focus on the colors on that. So anything that's black is just info that's going to show up on the report. And sometimes we'll see someone add in a bunch of custom fields. And the idea is that the inspector is going to, the field will direct the inspector what to do. But if you just want something to be on the report, you can just have that there and that'll be in black. And so, for example, what if you wanted like a paragraph text that says, hey, we are not licensed inspectors, da, da, da. You would literally just go on into this template, start typing, and that's the text. And it'll just show up on the report and you can copy and paste and things like that. And it'll be there as well. Okay.
Okay, and Michael just asked that he said that it's not allowing him to publish the template. That is most likely because you have the system document field there. Do you see that it's at the very top of the template usually? And you can see it in the screenshot. Just select it and delete it. That's it. And then you can publish your template. And speaking of publishing, if you publish the template, it's gonna just be active right away, available on the zInspector app for you to use to perform inspections. If you just save it, the green button, that's not enough for you to actually use it. If you just save it, it's just going to go to the drafts tab. We mentioned that earlier, but you're going to save your changes under the drafts tab. You will still be able to resume editing from the drafts tab, but you need to definitely publish it in order to see it live on the zInspector app. And any changes you make, they're going to show up real time right here on the preview of the app. You can see it on the right, and you can even select different properties for which you want to see the preview. You can see in the screenshot, it says 999 Smith test right above the preview. If you click there, you can just select a different property and you will see real time how the area list under the condition table is going to change based on the property you select. Now, I think the next, this is the important part. This is over here, we're going to cover how you would customize the condition table. And this is where we can actually show you how you can delete the requirements for pictures, comments, all of that. Andy, would you like to share screen or?
Sure. Yeah, and we know this kind of line is kind of technical looking, and And I think at some point we're going to make it more graphical to like actually edit it. That's kind of part of our longer term plan. At least you have a more of a graphical preview of it here. That slide there is kind of a good reference. And there's also an article there at the bottom there that kind of goes through kind of a bunch of different options. There's all kinds of different options that you can do. But let's kind of go ahead and kind of cover it here as well. So I'm going to kind of do it with an actual template. Okay. So if I go to settings here, document templates, okay, and then I'm going to find, let's say our move out. Okay. And I'm going to hit new draft. Okay. So this is this condition table. Now I understand it's a little kind of cryptic there. And so understand all that. But there are a couple of different things here to look at. Is one, you have instructions. So before I get to this, look for instructions. You see that text there? Instructions are examples of things that show up to your tenants or your inspectors, but don't show up on the report. So like you can actually embed videos or images or things like that in instructions that don't show up on the report, but they're to guide your inspectors. So like an example we embed a video from Second Nature that shows them how to determine, size of, determine the air filter size, for example. All right, now, but what we're talking about here is the condition table. And so the move out conditions, you see that? That is there, it's important. That's going to be the title of the report. Okay. And then we've got here all these different fields, right? And I understand it's a long list, but I would try to use the templates as they are and then try and make some modifications. If you get stuck at all, just email us and we will happily help you do it. Okay. But if to edit a field, you double click. Okay. Now, do you see where the semicolon is right there? Okay. The semicolon separates the columns. So new and excellent will be the choice in the first column. So if you look at our example tenant move-in column, based on feedback, we decided not to have that column for new excellent. It's just satisfactory. So we just got rid of it. So it just starts on the tenant move-in example. It just starts with a semicolon. That would be an example. Okay. On the default example, it's satisfactory. And then if you hold that S, you get options, fair or poor. And so that's where you could do that. Like if you wanted this, now you could even do things like this. Maybe you wanted satisfactory and there was someone here who asked for something like this, and I could say WT, and I could say normal wear and tear. So how that would work is that on the report, the code will be WT, and the header at the top of the report, kind of the legend, will say WT equals normal wear and tear. Now, another question we got asked right here was, if you want to not just have D damaged, okay, you wanted to say, some people like it to be explicit and say TD equals tenant damage. Okay, OR equals owner responsibility. Okay, and you could add in as many different little options in here as you wanted. Maybe you wanted to be a MP equals multi-party or whatever that is, for example, right? I mean, you can kind of do that if you wanted to do it. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. That's how you're going to customize those different columns. Okay, I guess for starters, are there questions on that here so far? And we're going to kind of pull this up. If there's anything in there that we're missing on that. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now, here, if you look at all right. Now, what all is the list of areas for the property. So that means all areas associated with the property. Some people like to do things that are different. So, for example, you could, if I just put in here the word yard, okay, that would generate an inspection with just my yard areas. So some people are using that for creating an exterior inspection. That way the property has all the same list, but you still have a similar process for just that. So that's how you could do something like that. And you can even put in a list here. So I could say yard and systems, and that would give me an inspection table with all areas that match yard or systems. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And I'm just going to cancel that one and kind of go back to it. All right. Now, the next one here is that there's picture and both. Okay. And what this here is that Gwen asked, and I think Carol asked, if you wanted to change this so that when you set an action item, you do not need to take a picture. Where the most common example of that would be some people like, you're just going to mark cleaning required, cleaning required, cleaning required, cleaning required. Maybe you don't need to take a picture on every item. If that's you, or you're relying more on the 360s, right? That would be an example. I personally prefer it, but if you don't, you can actually just get rid here of the word picture. And if you just get rid of that word, it will not have that picture requirement. The word both, that is going to force both a picture and a comment. So this one's for action, this one is for damages. And so the default setup, if someone marks it as damaged, they're going to force both a picture and a comment. That's why it's set up that way. And with just action, it forces just a picture. So that's how that works. There's a support article just on that with screenshots of the different options. And that's how that works. Okay. Can I zoom in? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Try and zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit clear.
Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Perfect.
And now, Ashley asked on that subject, on the action items. Ashley asked if we can remove the action items from the tenant move-in. Okay, so this column right here sets the action items. If you wish to hide the actions altogether, you can just type in hidden. That will hide the action column from that specific condition table.
All right, there's lots of other options on here, and just different people, want different things. So if you're stuck at all, rather than focusing here, open up the app, see how it works, think about what you want it to do, and just email support, and then we will tell you how to implement it. And we're happy to help you do that, okay? All right. I think I covered that condition table, Athena. Do you want to keep going? Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let me switch to our presentation here. And okay, so we did cover all of that. You can even see it more graphically represented here with all the different options, the conditions, what it stands for, the picture, the both. Oh, and the edit here that enables Z data. So if you don't have that, you're not going to see the Z data fields for that template, for that condition table. And moving on to the next fields here, these are the common fields that most people use. Additionally, aside from the condition table, you can, maybe you don't want the condition table, maybe you just want one of these fields. What these are is, first of all, a select field, and we have the different examples. This is a select field here. Again, you have the field type, that's the select field. You have the title, what's going to say, what it's going to read on the app, pets in this case. And then here, this would be under your arguments. So this is going to show you the different options that somebody sees when they tap on this pets question, basically. And you can see the screenshot here. If I tap on pets and it's required, it's in red, that is required, I can tap on that and I can see these options that I'm going to add here. No pets observed, observed but no issues. And these options here, they're going to be under the arguments field on the template editor. And you can very easily just change the options. Each option has to be separated by a semicolon with the previous one or the next one. And you can have as many options as you want. And the actual text here for the title can read whatever you want. Instead of pets, it can be pretty much anything. Like for smoke detectors here, if you tap on that, instead of pets, you would say smoke detectors. And then for the options, you're going to say no issues, some issues observed, not functional, things like that. That is a select field. Now, a paragraph field is just what it is. It's just a paragraph field. You just ask a question or just say something, what comments, general comments, pet comments. It can be whatever you want. It can be even a question, and it gives a free text field. So anybody or the inspector or the tenants can just type in anything they want. And again, you're going to add the title here, pet comments. That's going to be the field title. And then what you could do here under arguments, we already saw how that looks, arguments, you could add a placeholder for the comments. That is more advanced, but if you wanted the comment to have placeholder text here, you can add that under arguments. And a take pictures field. So this is just a camera button. And you can add as many camera buttons as you want. You can see that on the screenshot here. Pets, smoke detectors, whatever it is, you can add that camera button. You can add a title to it, like this here, pets. You can do a lot of things with a camera field. You can link the picture that you're going to take with this camera button. You can link the picture to a specific area on the final report. You can link the picture to a specific detail. Like for example, you can link a picture to the kitchen area, to the flooring detail. You can also link a picture, well, have a link, yes, link the picture to a specific action item. Again, that's more advanced, but if you want, you can have this camera button. Whenever somebody takes a picture with it, it's going to automatically create a task, a work order in zInspector. You can also add a placeholder comment for the camera button. You can do a lot of different things, but basically keep in mind that that's what it is. It's just a camera button and you can just take pictures with it.
Why don't I go ahead and
share your...
just kind of do a little example.
Okay, perfect.
And so here I'm on a template. Okay. And if you're on a kind of full screen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here where I want to add things. Okay. And now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say, I'm going to make right here, I'm going to add in a table, more just for looks and formatting. And I'm just going to make it one row, 2 columns. Okay. And I can this is kind of more like a standard HTML editor, but you can kind of skip that. And then I'm going to say something like, and this is like because we see many people need to do this, like in Canada and certain other locations, but I can say tenant acknowledgement, right? So that is just text that is just going to show up. So the black stuff here, the table, just text will show up. And then here I'm going to add in a field. And so I can, if I had something already, I could select it and copy it and paste it, right? Or I could even copy it and paste it from another template. So that all works. Or I can go up into system and let's see, I'm going to go to, custom, and I'm going to look for the select field. Okay. And I'm going to write tenant agrees. Okay. That's what's going to show up to the inspector. Okay. And I'm going to now add it. Okay. Oh, and I wasn't selected on the right thing, so I'm going to cut it and paste it into where I want it. Okay. And so when we add the select field, we just default in just for kind of looks to have these three things: satisfactory, unsatisfactory, not assessed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click it. And now these are the different options. Okay. So, and I'm just get rid of this. And I'm going to say tenant not present. Okay. Tenant was present, but does not agree with contents of inspection. And there's specific language in certain locales. Tenant agrees with inspection. And that would be an example, and hit OK. And now when I go and actually do the inspection, the inspector will have a checkbox, or even the tenant. They'd click that and it would give them different options, all three of those, and whichever option they picked, that's the text that will show up in that field. Okay. Now, this is kind of a little pro tip since you're all here, but if you have this like this, it's going to be required. One little pro tip is if you add a semicolon in front, it makes it optional. You do not have to pick that. So that's one. Another one that I really like, and this is a newer one, and we should start adding this to more of our templates, is I can just have, let's say, comments, and this rich text field, comments. And what that does is actually really, really neat. On the app, it'll give you, or on the website when you're editing it, it'll give you a paragraph box that supports all like formatting, like Microsoft Word. You can add bullets and bold and stuff like that. And so it's kind of just embeds a smart formatable text field within your document. Okay. And so, and that's basically how you're going to do that for the simple fields you want to add. Okay. Let's see if there's any more questions here. Okay. I know we're running a little late. Thank you for sticking with us. Okay. Kathy asked, we can't, about uploading to Appfolio, we can't upload to Appfolio. They just don't allow that. So, but you can set up distribution rules. So maybe an admin assistant gets it in their email and then they can upload it to Appfolio. Unfortunately, that's the best that we can do based on their limitations. All right. Okay, now Eric asked just how to do a template from scratch. I actually recommend, if you're going to just do a template, to start with something like inspection and hit new draft, get this template here, and at least will generate here this table header. So it's going to be all the common. And then if you really don't like to, you could just kind of delete everything there. And now I've got a blank one and I can just do with it whatever I wanted. I can type stuff in there and I could say something like pets observed, right? And then I would answer in my select field question, pets observed. And then I could add them and said, and I could change what the options were right from here. Okay, none observed, and yes, observed major issues, right? Yes, observed. And I could add a semicolon and add another option like yes, observed. That's basically how you would do it and make your own kind of template from scratch, just like that. Okay. All right. I know we're getting end. You want to? I think we got a couple more slides here at the end, but not much else, Athena. Yeah.
Yes, we have just one slide here. Let me go back to the presentation. So after these ones, this is a good one. It's this, and this is the last slide, but this is an important one. This is the area summary table. I would say it's an alternative to the condition table. If somebody doesn't want that level of detail that we have with the condition table, you can go for an area summary table. What this does is it just gives you a list of all the areas that you have specified for that property. Again, it's based on the database. It's getting that information from the database, but instead of showing you the full condition table details that you see with all the options, new, satisfactory, damaged, you're just seeing an area list with options to add comments. You can see that on the screenshot here, and to take pictures. That's it. Take pictures, add comments for all your areas. No details, no conditions. You can do different things with the area summary table. You can require pictures for each area and comments. You can require only pictures, not comments. You can only require comments, not pictures. Basically, just wherever you want. You can make it fully optional, not require anything. But that's it. It's very easy. It's faster basically than a condition table, but it's not that detailed. You have comments and pictures. And you can find that under the samples tab. We have the new property setup template that is going to just include the area summary with all the comments and the camera buttons. And you can see how that looks over here on the left. Area summary, that's the field type. Title, that can be whatever you want here on the title. And then in the arguments, you can say if it's for all the areas over here, and you can also say if you wanted to require comments, require pictures, require both, or nothing, make it optional. And in the middle here, yeah, sorry, you can see the final report, what it looks like. You have the area list with your comments, and all the pictures are under that.
And why we kind of developed this was some people, mainly for like their periodics or annual, they just really wanted more an easy place to go and take pictures. It's also really useful for like you could, and I think we should probably add this as a sample, like a marketing capture report, right? And it would kind of force you to take a 360 image of each room, and that might be it. You don't really need anything more than that, but then you still get a nice little report where you can add in comments if you want. You could still share that with an owner, and at least it's just something like that. So that would be an example of it. Different people are using that in different ways, so it just kind of depends on how you want to use it.
Okay, do you have any questions on the area summary table, on the condition table, and on the fields in general? I think we're pretty much done with all the slides here with the presentation for today. We wanted to go over the basics here. I'll show you all the options. Well, not all the options, but the most important ones. Of course, anytime anybody can just schedule a personal web conference one-on-one, and we can go over your templates, show you how you would do things, or just if you have any questions, you can email us at support@zInspector.com. But as long as we're here, just feel free to send us a chat message if you have any questions, or send us a Q&A question here. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
And we will be sending out some emails on our upcoming webinars. There will be one here next month on our 360 camera updates, I think, which are going to be, I think they're really, I think important updates to kind of get even higher quality, better pictures, how to use them, to how to like even do things like change brightness, gamma, things like that. So you can kind of really get into that. So we're doing a lot of work into that. So that's going to be our next one in February. And then we're going to set up a whole schedule. So we'll get those series of those. And if there's anything you need, just let us know. I think we're done with this webinar work, so feel free to exit at this point. We're going to just stay on here and just answer any questions. And so we've got, we're logged in and we can check things and show you settings and things like that. So if there's anything we can do for you, let us know. But thank you so much for coming, and I love the great feedback, and hope things are going well for you in 2022. Thank you, Lori. Really appreciate you coming. Sorry we did go a little long, but a lot of great questions. We wanted to take time to answer them, but thank you for coming, Lori. Thank you, Gerardo. Appreciate you coming. Thank you, Brian. Hope you are well. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Miranda. Thank you for joining. And yeah, just feel free to email support if you have any additional questions. We'll be happy to help.
So Shannon, if they're not there already, they should be. The actual slides should be in the webinar section. So the actual slides, basically everything that's there as well. So there should be like one link for the slides and one link for the recording. And so you should be able to access them that way. If you're not, then you can just email support and we will make sure you're able to get the slides as well. And Laura just confirmed that the slides are there. Okay. Thank you, Donna. Look forward to, thank you for coming, and we'll welcome you back. Appreciate it. Perfect. All right. Well, I think we are near the end. Athena, great job as always, and thank you so much to all of you for coming. And we know it's kind of some advanced topics, but we'd love to help you out. And things have really evolved because of your feedback. So please let us know what you need and what you're having problems with. And we are continually doing development, and we want the feedback. So let us know how we can help, and we'll do our best to make it better. Okay. So thanks so much for coming, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.